Welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. My name is George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. Okay, the Mastermind quote of the day. By the way, if you don't have the Daily Mastermind mobile app, it's free on iTunes as well as Android, so go download it. We got a lot of great stuff in there. The quote of the day is, do what you love and the money will follow. Do what you love and the money will follow. No question, I agree with that. So listen, I was recently reading a great blog post from one of my favorite authors on Zen Habits, Leo Barboda, and he wrote an article on the power of clarity. And for some reason, this topic of clarity has been pretty consistent lately. It's been coming up over and over and over for me. Now, listen, I've been seeking more clarity in my life on different things. I've got lots of different opportunities and responsibilities, but I've seen this topic come up over and over and over again. And I guess that's a great example of how your mind works, right? The minute you decide that you want to focus on something, you get more and more of that into your life. And I know that many of you, like me, have lots of responsibilities and priorities and, craziness and things going on in your life. But sometimes clarity is about finding direction. And sometimes it's just about finding a center point in your life where you can feel like you have something that keeps you going, a purpose, a passion. But ultimately, I really believe that clarity is a critical ingredient to finding everything from health, wealth, and happiness in your life. Brenden Burchard lists clarity as, in fact, he says seeking clarity is the number one habit of high performers, and I truly believe that. And really, every single thought leader or mentor I've had have talked about the power of clarity. So, my message to you today is to simply be aware of creating clarity in your life. Seek clarity and strive for clarity in everything that you do. Don't just drift in life. Find something that drives you. Be constantly moving towards that North Star of what your clarity is. So what I want to do is I want to read to you an article that I pulled from the Zen Habits blog. And if you go to zenhabits.net, you're going to see what I mean. It's a very simple blog. I subscribe to it and I read and get great ideas from it. But I hope it'll help you to create some awareness and find some clarity in your life and your daily activities. So I'm just going to read you this blog post. And it's called The Power of Getting Clarity. And he goes on and says, before I started Zen Habits, I was in a place in my life where I had a beautiful family, but I was stuck and dissatisfied with myself. I know I wanted to change things, my health, finances, job, way that I was approaching life, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do about it or what I wanted. So most of the time I just ignored all this and distracted myself. How many of us do that, right? I didn't have any clarity on what I wanted or what I needed to do, and this lack of clarity is felt by all of us very deeply. So it shows up in how we talk, how we hold ourselves, how other people feel us. It affects our relationships, our jobs, and our health. Then I got really clear that I needed to make a change, and there were so many areas of my life I wanted differently, so I decided that clarity was going to help me to focus. It was going to help me to take action and to feel energized. Now, lack of clarity causes stress, inaction, scattered focus, relationship difficulties, and even confusion on our teams in business. Some of the examples that you may want to find clarity in are your mission in life, your morning routine, your financial plan, what you need to do to improve your relationship, how you'll get healthier, what others expect of you or what you expect of them, how a meeting's going to run, what your boundaries are in a relationship. So as you can see, these are all pretty broad topics, and but really ultimately it can apply to any part of your life. And we don't have to be perfect. We just have to get clarity on some things or everything, and that's the key. So it's something to bring awareness to that we can improve over time. But the more we find clarity, the more we'll have focus, calm, and motivation. So here's what he says about how to get clarity. I think it's a really simple guide, which is what I love about this blog. He says, okay, great, we want to get clarity, so how do we do that? I'll share some things I've learned for finding clarity. Number one, create some space. When we're unclear as to something, how we could reach a goal, for example, most often we put it off instead of getting any clarity. Instead, instead try creating some space to get clarity. Carve out an hour, a half day, a weekend, depending on how big this thing is you need to work on, and then do the things that I'm going to suggest, but carve out that space to work on them. Number two, he suggests journal, iterate, Write about what you need clarity on. It doesn't have to be any answers. It doesn't have to be coherent. Just let your thoughts pour out, your stream of consciousness. Give yourself space to reflect. And I'll add, a lot of times we have the answers we need. We just need to get it out there and start letting our thoughts go. I went on a recent walk with a good friend, and just talking things out a lot of times helps you to really gain clarity. Number 3, he talks about meditate and contemplate. Similarly, you can go out into nature and spend some time in solitude. Go for a walk, sit on a rock, meditate. See what comes up for you. Hold one question in your mind. What do I want here? Or something like that, right? See if something emerges or anything emerges as you hold this question in your mind. The 4th example, he says, is to talk to others. Share your thoughts with others. Share what you're not sure about, what you're afraid of. Hear your thoughts. Just the act of talking it out is valuable. You're giving yourself space for your thoughts and feelings and having them heard. Often you can get clarity just from a good conversation. And that's interesting because I just mentioned that. Number 5, when you have a little clarity, write it down. If you have some kind of answers, any kind of clarity at all, write it down as simply as you can. Just 2 sentences. Putting something down helps to make it more clear, and then you can start to take action on it. Number 6, take action to get clarity. Many people think they need to have clarity before they take action, but it often happens the other way around. Have the slightest bit of direction, go in that direction. Take the first step, see what it's like. You'll learn more from doing and going back and figuring things out afterwards. For example, as I started working on my mission, I got clearer and clearer that this is what it was meaningful for me, but I also got clear on how I'd like to go about doing it. Maybe in a couple years, I'll have even more clarity, but I'm not going to wait for that in order to take action. Start moving now and learn from that. This is a really good point that he makes because I've mentioned before, decision usually comes before the process. You create that decision, you take that action, and the clarity is going to come along the way. Too many of us, for fear, right? Because of fear, we hold back and we wait for clarity. But what we don't understand is it's not that you can't figure out clarity, it's that you can't get clarity until you're moving, until you have action. So moving forward and creating action is how you're going to get clarity. And when you realize that, it helps to take away the fear. It helps you to take action. The 7th and final one, he says, is reflect after you've taken action and get clearer. As you set things in motion, it's important to step back every month or 2, or you might do this on a weekly basis like I do, to see how things are going. What have you learned? What's getting in the way? Use what you've learned to get even more clarity, and then write it down simply and take action again and repeat the process. So what areas of your life do you need clarity? How is it that lack of a clarity maybe in certain areas is affecting you and the people around you? Are you ready to create that space and get some clarity? Well, it's my hope that you'll prioritize this in your life, that you'll be aware and that you'll find the areas that you can increase and create a better life with clarity, and that once you identify those areas, you'll really do some work on it. Also, I want to encourage you and ask you to share this message of clarity and purpose, or even share this podcast with anyone you feel can benefit from it. Sometimes the best way we can learn and implement in our life is to share and to teach. And so send me some feedback as well. I'd like to know how you're doing. I'd like to see if there's anything in particular that you feel I can do to help you. You can hit me up on, DM me on Instagram at The Daily Mastermind. You can go to dailymastermind.com website, or you can simply comment back through email. But I really appreciate you being here today. You're a valued member of the Daily Mastermind community, and I hope you're applying these things in your life and you're creating a better and better life every day. It's never too late to start living the life that you're meant to live. You're absolutely unstoppable. You have the ability to do it, and I believe in you. So have an amazing day. My name is George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind.